Hey guys, so tonight we're talking about art and technology during this period of time, this age of revolution. So as these revolutions are taking place and during the Enlightenment, during this time period that we've been discussing. So remember, that's around like the 1600s and the 1700s in that time period. So let's go ahead and get started talking about art. So the Enlightenment and the ideas that are going on are influencing art, music, paintings, literature, architecture. All of these things are being influenced by the ideas of the Enlightenment and the scientific revolution. And remember, both of these were stressing reason and logic and applying that to the world around us. So that is reflected in art. Reason and order are reflected in the new art forms emerging during this time. So let's talk about some styles so you have a frame of reference. So Baroque style was in the early 1600s and into a little bit of the 1700s. Baroque was really ornate and detailed. You can see that in the Palace of Versailles, which that's what you're looking at the top of your screen, and that's some of the ceiling work at the Palace of Versailles. So it's really, really detailed and ornate. It's grand, really flashy and showy, and that is typical of the Baroque style. The next style we'll talk about is neoclassical. This really emerges toward the mid 1700s, and it focused on simplicity and elegance. It showed action scenes, and it was just it was highly influenced by the Enlightenment, and it borrowed themes from Greek and Roman culture. So we talked about how with the Renaissance, it was a throwback to Greek and Roman culture. Well, it comes full circle, and even more so in this neoclassical period where they're focusing on figures and real life action scenes. So those are the two different styles we're going to be focusing on. Baroque, again, is ornate and kind of gaudy and really detailed and heavy, and then the neoclassical is more elegant and simplistic. So let's jump straight into some examples. I'm just going to give you some quick examples of these styles. So we're going to talk about composers. Composers are just people who write music. The two men that we're going to talk about compose typically piano or keyboard music, but composers are people who write music. So the first is Johann Sebastian Bach. You all have probably heard of Bach. He was born sometime in the 1600s. We're not really sure, and he died in 1750. He is a Baroque composer. So he is more of that more traditional style, pretty ornate music. We will listen to some examples of these composers. Even though Bach is considered Baroque, he's more Baroque style. He's going to be for our class, for our terms, a classical composer. Next is Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. So Mozart lived from 1756 to 1791, and he was a child prodigy, which means when he was a child, he was extremely talented at composing music, and kings and queens and people all over Europe were wanting Mozart to come and compose music for him. His music style is more of that classical style. It's light, the melodies play through and then repeat. There's a lot of order to his music. And again, he is just simple and elegant, and his music is kind of light. So these are two examples of music during this time period and how it has been influenced by the Enlightenment and the scientific revolution. So there's your music. Next, we're going to talk about art and literature. So first, new forms of art and literature are coming about. For literature, the new form is the novel, which is a lengthy work of prose fiction. So let's take that apart a little bit. So lengthy work, so a novel is a long book, a long writing, not just a short story, not just an essay, but a long work of prose. Prose are sentences. So full sentences, we're not doing poetry here where it's fragments or anything, full sentences. Lengthy work of prose fiction, and fiction means make-believe or stories, not real, right? So these are long stories that are written in full sentences, and people are really starting to enjoy these novels, these stories during this time. So Miguel de Cervantes is credited with his work of Don Quixote, which he wrote in 1605 or published in 1605. This is really credited as the birth of the modern novel, or one of the first really good examples of a modern novel. So Don Quixote is about this guy, and he wants to be a knight, or he is kind of a knight, and he dresses up in rusty armor and rides on this really ragged, poor horse, and he rides around trying to be chivalrous like knights of old. And so this picture up above in the book, he confuses some windmills for giants, and he's going to go fight the giants, but they're really windmills. And some people say that in this book, it's making fun of chivalry and chivalrous behavior, and some people are saying it really is a nostalgia or a longing for more traditional ideas. But that is Don Quixote, an example of a novel. And there's new styles in art as well. Nope, that was supposed to go away. Cervantes' picture was supposed to go away. Sorry, guys. So new styles in art. The new art, again, was a throwback to Greek and Roman art styles. There was a focus on public events and action, real life scenes, and also portraits or pictures of people. All of those things were really popular during this time period, and Eugene Delacroix is famous for some of these works that are indicative or representative of this time period. Above, you can kind of see, sorry guys, you can kind of see a portion of one of his works. It's the Massacre at Chios. It is depicting the Ottomans defeating the Greeks in a battle, and so like I said, it's one of those action scenes. It's showing action, and it is indicative of these new styles, or a good representation of these new artistic styles. Let's see. So next we're going to move straight into the technology during this time period. So there's a couple of advancements during this time period from 1650 to about 1850 in technology that really improved life. So one is all-weather roads. There are roads that are able to be used in all types of weather now. So before, when roads weren't really established, they were muddy, you couldn't really use them or transport things in bad weather. They were only in good weather. So there's these new roads called macadam roads, which is they used stone to make these roads all weather. So it's kind of a packed stone road. That's what the macadam road was. And now they can trade, they can transport goods, they can move themselves. Transportation is made better during this time period because of these all-weather roads. Now, agricultural revolution. Agricultural revolution is happening. People are learning ways to grow crops and raise livestock that are more efficient. There's some specific breeding that's happening both in animals and in plants, where they're picking out specific genes or specific traits that they want that are making animals or crops more resistant, so they're able to grow crops better in the climate that they are in, or they're making animals that are better suited to live in the places that they are, so that they're more prosperous, so that the animals live longer, or they become larger, and that means that they're going to be more profitable for the person selling them, or that the crops are growing better. There's also some advancements in technology, like the McCormick Reaper and McCormick Farm. Cyrus McCormick's farm is right up the road. The Reaper, I have a picture of it here for you, made cultivating grains a lot faster and easier. It took fewer people, so you could grow more and harvest more and be more profitable. This meant that there's going to be more food, and it made farmers' lives easier and more profitable. So that was some of the stuff happening in the agricultural revolution. And lastly, new ships and new technologies in shipping were emerging, which made trading goods faster and cheaper. So what was the effect of all of this? The implications of all of this? One, transportation was improved, not only for transportation of people trying to move around, but also goods. So that made trading more profitable and easier to do and faster. Also, with the advancements in agriculture, there was more food. It was produced easier. That meant it was cheaper for people to buy, so more food at cheaper prices means people are going to eat better, and there's going to be a growth in population. So we see populations rising because of these technological advancements in agriculture. So that, in a nutshell, is the art and the technology of this time period. Tomorrow night, we're going to be introducing the topic of the French Revolution, which I hope you all really enjoy. It's an interesting topic. So thank you.